Welcome to the AFR Saints channel, where we provide you daily content on your favorite team, the New Orleans Saints. Do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to leave your comments below and smash that like button. Screw that. Saints quarterback has got to be what most people are going to be interested in. Jameis, Taysom, you've actually seen him out there. What's it look like?
Well, look, people were going to be interested in the quarterbacks no matter what because they need a new quarterback for the first time in 16 years with Drew Brees retiring. But you can't get any more fascinating than these two candidates either. I mean, either guy wins the job, and I think all eyes are going to be on him in week one, even nationally, because there's stories about what they could possibly be. The unknown, the high ceiling, the low floor. Is so fascinating with either guy. I think early on, though, the small sample size can't be overstated. That we've only seen 4 practices, no pods, a lot of it in base offense. We haven't seen them do 2-minute drill. We haven't seen them do red zone drills. But boy, Jameis has looked especially good. They both had some good moments, but Jameis Winston has had a couple practices in particular where he looked really good, especially today. He was really lighting it up today, but he's thrown the deep ball a couple times, which we know he can do. The thing that's really stood out to me is his efficiency. He is throwing a lot of check-down passes. He's throwing a lot of 3-step drop, quick, decisive throw. He's throwing to tight ends and running backs in addition to receivers, and just looks really fluid in this offense. So it's a very good start. It's what you'd want to see in the first 4 days from him.
Let's stick with some other positives through the first 4 days. And again, it's early in camp, but what else has stood out early that says, man, that looks really good for only being 4 days in?
Well, Amukamara is still showing up every day. He's going to have to be the whole offense, so that's a positive. And today I made note of in the other, that's obvious category, Marshawn Lattimore is really off to a strong start. Rejecting some balls, kind of blanketing guys in coverage, which isn't always true of him in camp, actually. Sometimes he's admittedly a little bit of a ease into the season kind of guy, but he's off to a great start. Like I said, no pads yet, no live tackling yet, so it's really hard to say anything about the offensive line, which I think is probably the strength of the team. It's hard to say anything about the defensive line or the linebackers in particular. But you know, I would say the strengths of the team remain that they still have 6 or 7 star players, you know, top 100 like players on the offensive line, and Kamara and Cam Jordan and DeMario and Marshawn Lattimore, Marcus Williams, but tons of question marks. I mean, when we are writing down the names of the guys who are catching passes and the guys who are playing cornerback, it's pretty jarring how thin they are at those positions.
Is there an early candidate for the Keith Kirkwood breakout receiver of camp watch?
Oh man, that is a long all-star list, and it's, you know, there's two. You say Keith Kirkwood, you know, somebody else would say R.J. Harris. I'd say Emmanuel Butler.
Right.
Somebody else would say Eddie Tanner. So you know, the list is long and proud. And part of the reason is it's just so easy to watch the passes in practice. It's so hard to, you know, rate interior play. It's so hard to rate the run game. Every run is a 40-yard run because they don't actually tackle the running back. But you can actually judge who's catching passes and who's defending passes. Marquez Callaway has looked really good. He was the Keith Kirkwood of camp last year, and it actually turned into a significant role on the team. He's continued to look good this year. Had a fingertip deep catch from Jameis Winston today that everybody thought he maybe overthrew him, and he got there. You know, Tulane's Jalen McCleskey has a high volume of catches. He's a guy who's very much on the roster bubble. You know, you would have thought maybe a practice squad candidate, but with so many opportunities here, if he keeps up the pace he's on, he's a dark horse to actually make the roster. And Chris Hogan, the newly signed former lacrosse player, seems to catch everything they throw his way too.
Mike Triplett's with us. He's on Twitter at Mike Triplett, ESPN.com. You mentioned offensive players newly signed. We also got to see Devante Freeman in a Saints uniform today.
Yeah.
What role does he fill on this team?
That move didn't make a ton of sense to me on the current roster. He feels a little redundant as a veteran backup with Latavius Murray. But, of course, we are talking about the running back position where guys get hurt, where guys need to stay fresh. So I suppose there is possibly room on the roster for Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray, and Devante Freeman last year, as Sean Payton pointed out when they signed him. The main reason why is because Ty Montgomery is pretty much moving full-time back to wide receiver right now, which left an opening in the running back room. And last year, Ty Montgomery was a veteran running back who felt a little redundant, and he made the roster, and he ended up playing a valuable depth role at both running back and receiver as the season wore on. So, it wasn't their greatest position of need, but, boy, he's still a really good player. He's not even 30 years old yet, even though it seems like he's been around for a while. He should be fresh after not playing a lot last season. So you bring good guys in the building, you find room for them.
I got two more things. Number one, the other signing today was Prince Amukamara, and the Saints did make that official with an announcement. I'm just curious your thoughts on the fit with Prince Amukamara, and if this is the answer they've been looking for a boundary corner.
If it had happened 1 year ago, I might have said it's possible. He was primarily a starter in the league on the outside for 8 straight years, which is what you need. But obviously the jury is very much out on him right now because last year he got cut. He was a victim of a 53-man roster cut at the beginning of the summer and then never latched on and played a game. He was mostly spent last season in the Arizona Cardinals practice squad and wasn't able to make their roster there. And that was a team that kind of had some cornerback needs, too. He played behind Drake Kirkpatrick, who is still unsigned and visited with the Saints earlier. So he's definitely going to have to prove it. But if he can somehow tap back into, what he was 2 or 3 years ago, he was a solid professional starter as an outside cornerback, and that's what the Saints need right now. Although we were talking to Dennis Allen today about how nobody's given Patrick Robinson a shot to win that job. And he said, Patrick Robinson had a great camp last year. When they needed him to play in games last year, he stepped up and played well. So he's going to have an opportunity to do that, too, and prove he still belongs in the league. They're kind of in the same boat if you think about it.
Mike, what about the draft picks, man? Paulson Adebo is a guy we're talking about. Peyton Turner, Pete Werner, a lot over there on the defensive side.
Yeah, the guy I've been able to notice most is Pete Werner. He's playing a lot with the starters out of that group. He's playing the most with the starters, I'd say. And even though they're not tackling running backs, we're seeing him be able to cover running backs in the flat. The poor guy has been matched up with Alvin Kamara a lot. We were also joking with Dennis Allen about how Pete Werner in single coverage against Alvin Kamara in 7-on-7 drills is not how they would actually do it in a real game. They would give him some help. They might chip Kamara coming out of the backfield instead of letting him have a free release. But he has been what they were hoping when it comes to his football IQ, being able to recognize things, make the checks. He's got every opportunity to win the starting job. Peyton Turner has gotten some valuable snaps against Teron Armstead when Cameron Jordan has had some rest periods where they're not running him into the ground early in camp. So he's getting the snaps there. Obviously, for Peyton Turner, putting the pads on is when practice really starts at that position. And Paulson Adebo, I would say, has not stood out necessarily good or bad running with the twos for the most part. I haven't, when you write down the highlight plays, he has neither been making or the victim of any of the extreme highlights in practice so far.
Any of the undrafted free agent guys maybe turning heads early? Again, it's early, but anybody worth noting?
Yeah, like I said, Jalen McCleskey has been a guy who I've written down a couple of times, and he was very involved in today's practice. A couple guys have noted that Jalen Dalton is impressing at defensive tackle again for the second straight summer after it looked like he might make the roster last year. And he is a guy who, that is a position where there is absolutely an opportunity on this team.
He is Mike Triplett, ESPN.com, on Twitter at Mike Triplett. Saints camp, 4 days old. We always appreciate a couple of minutes, man. Thanks for the time.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.